Hi everybody, welcome to our Facebook Live tonight. Unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, we are recording and we'll be posting it, you'll probably get it today, but we're so very sorry for that inconvenience. So I welcome all of you tonight. I welcome our guest speaker, Julia from SISIP, that's joining us to talk about budgeting with regards to transitioning from your military life to civilian life. So thank you, Julia, for joining us tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm really excited to see you again because we've seen each other a number of times, and I'm glad that you're here tonight to talk to our members and their families about this topic.
Absolutely.
It's a hot topic.
It is.
People releasing for a number of reasons. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit, Julia, about yourself and kind of, I guess, your background and some of the services that SISIP offers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been with SISIP for just under a year now. I'm fairly new to the organization. However, I have about 15 years of financial services experience, so financial planning, financial advice, credit, so perfect leading up into this type of role. So at SISIP, basically, the major services we offer are the insurance, the counseling, and financial planning.
Okay, so counseling, you mean financial counseling?
Yeah, absolutely, financial counseling. So whether it be you want help with working through a budget, you've moved, you need to adjust to your new location, you just need some advice, or you're in some trouble financially, you can come and see us and we'll...
Or employment, maybe you've had to switch jobs. And
absolutely, yeah, okay. Loss of one income perhaps.
Yes.
As a spouse follows another spouse along. So yeah,
yes.
Absolutely, those are the things that we can help you out with for sure.
Excellent. So I'm wondering about accessing the service. A couple of questions. Do you need to be a military member to access the service?
So the service of SISIP on the counseling side is for active serving members and spouses. Okay. On the insurance side, there are services available for military members when you're releasing. There's also services available for retired members, spouses,
but
children
somehow
as well.
Connected to
military service.
Excellent.
Absolutely, yes, that's correct.
So how do we reach you? Is there a number to call? Is there a website?
Sure.
Off the top of your head, sorry.
And there is. That's okay. So easiest thing is just the SISIP.com, and you can go onto there. Super easy. There's a contact us page. When you go into there, it'll ask you what you want some help with. Is it insurance? Is it planning? Is it counseling? It'll ask you to indicate your closest base. That information comes through to us, and typically we're replying to you, within a couple hours. 24 hours at the very latest. Yeah, sometimes we give people a call within minutes of that request coming through to us. So if we're not helping another member,
sitting by the phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you said which base, so basically SISIP is everywhere there's a military base.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice,
yeah.
Very nice. Even those isolated, kind of remote.
Yeah. So typically the SISIP office is located on the base.
Right.
Here in the National Capital Region, Ottawa, it's a little bit different. We're spread out, so our SISIP office is not at one particular location, but available to meet with the members on our Laurier Street office or on our LaBelle Street office, or sometimes at their own location, whatever's convenient.
Oh, well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's budgeting on the road.
It is.
Excellent. So speaking of budgets, and we've said that a number of times, so what is a budget? How do I create a budget? And how do I, or why would I need a budget? I laugh at myself. Of course everyone needs a budget, but especially myself. But yeah, how do I create one? What is one?
Yeah, so the biggest thing about creating a budget, you have to be honest with yourself. So we have an Excel sheet that's available on the SISIP.com site
nice.
That you can download. So an Excel format, which is great because you can work with it, create copies. But you really need to delve deep into your own financial statements. So
what sort of things would be on? Sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
That's okay.
What sorts of things would be on the Excel sheet? Like when you say be honest with yourself about how much you spend for
your
certain
expenses.
things?
Yeah, everything. So pick apart your spending, right? So know how to read your pay stub to start with, so you know what your income looks like, what all of your deductions look like, being able to add in any additional income such as child tax benefit, family allowances, spousal income, all of those types of incomes, and then just start working through all of your expenses. And we say be honest with it because, sometimes your coffee stops add up to a lot more than you think. Sometimes your eating out adds up to a lot more, or
Absolutely.
You're going out, your weekend outings. And when you think you should be okay with your budget, but at the end of every month you find yourself struggling, that's when you really need to run yourself through the exercise. Take 3 months of bank statements, just start breaking them down into the categories available on our Excel sheet, and then you'll get a real reality picture. Yeah.
Wow. I'm thinking about that Excel sheet as a very useful tool.
Absolutely,
that
for
is
sure.
easily accessible on the website. And I think, because it leads into my next question around tips to keeping that budget and staying on track. So I think revisiting your Excel spreadsheet would probably be one of those tips to kind of keep that budget in line.
Yeah, because it goes so far as to breaking down your yearly expenses to monthly. So, even gifting, for example, you might be spending X amount at Christmas. Birthday parties, those types of things. So if you break those down into monthly and then create a system where you're setting aside that money, then it makes it easier, right?
A lot of planning ahead.
A lot of planning ahead, but if you set up that routine and stick to the routine, then you can find yourself in a lot better
situation. So it's a lot of self-discipline when it comes to this budgeting thing.
Sure.
Honesty and just being really faithful to it. I know when you mentioned yearly, when I think of that, I think that's really overwhelming. Mm-hmm. When it goes back to let's do monthly or let's do weekly, I feel that's something I can kind of. So is that a tip when you're first getting started, trying to crack down on your budget to kind of not bite off more than you can chew? Or?
Yeah, start a little bit at a time. So that's why we say take about 3 months of your statements, because that kind of averages you out, right, of your spending. And
because I think someone who's not used to having a budget or creating a budget or sticking to a budget, it might be difficult in the front end. And I feel like I'm, falling off the wagon, and I've gone to Starbucks one too many times, or
and that's when we're here to say, send us your bank statements again, and you've gone to Starbucks too many times in the last 2 months, so we'll keep you on track.
Excellent. I've heard about a working budget.
Yes.
I'm not sure. What is a working budget?
Yeah. So working budget is basically the fundamental of your success. So if you can't control your money using the budget, then it's going to be difficult for you to pay off debt, to create yourself a savings, to plan for the future.
And these are all things that are very important as part of your budget. For sure, with a long-term planning.
Yeah.
So I guess this perhaps answers my next question around, so is it absolutely necessary then to have that working budget, to manage money?
Yes.
Sorry to say,
yes is the very simple answer.
Okay.
And if you find yourself struggling, which is very normal when you're starting into the workforce.
Yes.
If you're coming off of having, even student loans, often in the military that don't experience necessarily the same student loans, but there's expenses regardless. Vehicles, there can be many things. So, recommendation, create your budget, keep it visible.
Okay.
Put a copy on your fridge.
Keep it in your phone.
Put a copy on a wall in your home somewhere. Or keep a copy in your office. It just gets you into the routine of being conscious about your budget.
Conscious and accountable, I guess.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you have to cut yourself short and not enjoy life.
Yeah,
it may help you. It may help you, right? You know what? I've done really well this month. I'm going to treat myself because I have some extra. I've been good in spending in some areas.
No, that's the type of language that I like.
Yeah.
I'm going to treat myself.
Yeah.
Because life is short, and I know it's important to pay our bills off and to save money. And, but I think it's important. So it's nice to hear you say that even with your budgeting, you can still treat yourself.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
It's important.
Yeah. Because you know when you're getting paid. And you know what your expenses look like.
Yeah.
So if you can budget for that and budget out all your expenses and setting some money aside for those annual expenses, then you should be able to start to see yourself in a better situation where you can create some savings for a rainy day, create that emergency fund for yourself.
Or a trip.
Whatever the goal is.
Yeah.
Find a goal and work towards it. Yeah.
You talked about knowing how much like when you get paid, but it's how much will you get paid. Some of our members are reservists.
Correct.
I could speak to them, right?
Right. So variable income that we don't know. So
how does that work?
Yeah. So that's more difficult, right? So what we kind of have to work the budget a little bit backwards.
Okay.
We have to figure out what your expenses are going to look like. Now, how do we pay your expenses, right? Or we figure out what kind of lifestyle do you sort of want to be living right now? What would you like to spend? And how many hours are you going to need to work to achieve that? So we're not starting with the knowing how much we're earning and then listing out our expenses and figuring out what we need to cut back on. We need to say, well, these are our expenses. This is typically what you're earning on your variable income. Is it meeting your needs, or do we need to fill in the gap?
I'm feeling a little bit of a dreamer. The dream world that I want to live. And I'm hoping I'm not the only person out there.
Yeah, and outside of military, or if you're going to be releasing,
right,
then you could be experiencing that variable income, right? If you take on some contract work or some freelance work post-military, or going back to some civilian work. I mean, there's a good example, as well as needing to know, like, what's the variable income going to be like? Have my expenses changed? Because hopefully over time your expenses start to go down. You don't maybe owe any more on a card, or you paid off your mortgage. So what do you want to do after you've either released or retired?
So it's very individual. It can be different for everyone.
Everyone has different goals. Yeah. Yeah. Some people want to travel.
Yeah.
And sometimes the unfortunate happens and you fall ill, right? So now how do you deal with that, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe those plans you had of, well, I'll work part-time so we can enjoy traveling or doing different things. Well, is that going to look different for you?
For sure,
right?
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, because I've made some attempts at budgeting, and then I alter it, like I change it a little bit to suit my needs. So is that like cheating? I feel like I'm totally cheating.
It can be cheating, but so let's just take let's just take a look at an example. So let's just say you have scheduled some free time in your week to do some gardening. It's nice out right now.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, that one of your kids is sick.
Right.
Okay. So
it's a very real scenario.
Stick to your gardening, or is it sick enough that the urgency has to go to the doctor?
Kind of prioritize.
Right? Prioritize, right, exactly. Yeah. So now you can't exactly continue your gardening, and so your budget now is changed to suit the new need or the immediate urgency. So
I'm giggling because I feel like, and I hope I'm not the only person out here, but this is so. I need those shoes. They're a priority in my life.
Yeah.
But okay, it's just prioritizing.
So now maybe it's the knockoff version.
Yes, exactly. That's how we cheat.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, good. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
So, talking about money for me, and I just feel budgeting, sometimes it can just get confusing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just like, I'll just leave that to my spouse or my partner to kind of take care of and figure out. Is that something we recommend, or?
No, not at all. No. Yeah.
Or for me just to do it?
No. The thing is that what's important is that both spouses or partners are fully aware of the financial situation. That way, if someone gets ill or hurt, the other person can pick up, and things don't fall behind. They know where all the banking takes place. They know how all the bills are getting paid.
Yes.
Far too often we'll see it's always one person in the couple or one of the partners that's been taking care of it, and they no longer have any control over, like, something happens to one person, and what do we do, right?
Right.
You're
absolutely right.
Well, if we have no, like, make a binder, just so you know, this is where all our finances are. This is who to contact for our investments. This is who my main contact is at the bank. Like, just have it somewhere, a family binder somewhere, that if something happens, someone else, and maybe there's no partner or spouse,
right.
or maybe there's some children, or a best friend. Let that person know this. If something happens to me, this is what you need to take a look at.
Or something. That is a really good suggestion, because you're right. I guess we do get caught up and kind of not know what's going on.
And it's natural that if, especially in the military, if you have one spouse that's deploying frequently, then the other person needs to pick up and take care of that. But it's important that
amongst other things,
absolutely. But because finances can be such a sore source in a marriage, it's important that if you're going to build your life together, that the finances become a part of that. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I have, I've heard of the expression of old money. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. That doesn't mean the paper
bills. The old money?
Yeah. It doesn't mean the old paper bills. So
what is old money?
So it's aging money, right? So aging money kind of goes back to the whole theory of budgeting. You need to really take a look at, and this is where I say being honest with your budget. Put in every little thing and see at the very end if it calculates out some free cash flow. So that free cash flow should age a little bit in your bank account.
So that's a savings?
So we should be budgeting savings in our budget. So we would like to see in an ideal budget that there's still, even though we've budgeted some money, everything including money into savings, into investments, that there's still a little bit of extra.
See, I would have thought budgeting would be down to the last. I want to know where everything is going.
Down to the last cent. But then that extra that we see, the old money part, will be, okay, so now this has been sitting in my account. I've paid all my expenses. I've had this extra little bit now sitting. Now I'm going into the second month of it, that's sitting there. So after 1 month, you see, okay, after 30 days, I'm like, okay, I still got some left. Now it's building a little bit more. So now, okay, let's budget it somewhere. Let's increase our savings.
Or invest it.
Or
rainy day.
Make our our emergency funds are very important, right? So we want to make sure that we've given ourselves some emergency fund money, and that's one place you might want to think about putting some of that aging money.
So you talked about the old money in the 30 days. So is that, how old should my old money be?
45 days is kind of our, okay, after 45 days, it should go somewhere else. Because...
And not just sit.
Not just sit. You're not going to get anything for it sitting in a checking account or a savings account, but it should go somewhere, right? So let it go into an emergency fund, let it go into an investment, go out.
Oh, you know? I'm all about that. Oh, just
maybe not the shoes, but go out, right? So it's personal circumstances, right? There could be a reason why. Maybe you don't want to put it into investment because you have you know you're going to have a short-term expense coming up, maybe a car repair, so that's why it's sitting there.
Okay.
So rather than, you might not necessarily want to budget a car repair in unless it's something major, you know, is tires maybe, for example, which you would want to budget for, right? So it could be something like that. So knowing that you have a little bit extra in your account too helps you sleep better at night. So, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I wondered about, I feel like I have so many questions, but I wondered about how would one know, how would a family know if they're living beyond their means?
Yeah.
Which I probably am, but
so
how do you figure that out?
Basically, if you go to a bank, they're going to tell you very quickly if you're living beyond your means. So kind of rule of thumb is you need to know what your net income looks like, okay? And then there's percentages of your net. And the reason when I say net, it's what's deposited into your account after all of the deductions are taken off of your
so
pay.
not your gross pay,
Okay,
your net pay.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to not calculate off our gross pay because we have taken into consideration, depending on how much income you're earning, there's a big variable of how much of that money goes into, taxes or pension plans, or it could be a various number of things that are withheld off of your salary what you end up in your account. So 20% of your net income should be sort of the amount of money maximum that's going out to debt, not related to a home. Okay?
Okay, so so 20% of the net income.
Yeah. You shouldn't have more than 20% of your net income
going off to pay debt.
To debt, credit cards, loans,
credit cards pretty soon.
Car payments. Okay? So
just not house.
Not house. So about 28 to 32%. 32 is really, really topping it. Should be your home.
Okay.
When we say home, home is whether you're leasing or you own your home. So mortgage, property taxes, heating costs.
Oh, okay.
If you're renting, it'll be your rent, including all of your utilities. Okay, and don't forget condo fees because they play a big role, right? So if you're a homeowner and you're having a mortgage, don't forget to add into your condo fees. Because if you get to bigger percentages than that, it's not, you're living beyond your means,
right.
Okay? So the mortgage, having a mortgage or what you're paying out in renting is a big thing because that, when it comes time to renew a mortgage, you never know what the interest rates are going to look like.
Yes.
So if you're living on the high end of things, if you're at the 32%, that 32% could jump.
Right.
Right.
And that could be a bit of a game changer.
Correct. Absolutely. So are you still going to be able to afford your home?
So everybody get your calculators out.
Yep. Get your calculators out.
Start calculating.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So we talked about a little bit about families or military members transitioning. So they're leaving the military life for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be going into the civilian life.
Yes.
And how does one prepare? How far ahead should one prepare or even be thinking about that? Should we think of that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe there's a gap in, I'm going to say a gap in service. It's not a gap in service, but a gap between when they're military, their last pay, and until they get their first, if they're eligible for pension, their first
that's right. Yeah.
deposit pension. I keep hearing 45 days
Yeah.
if everything is in order.
45 days if everything is in order.
Yeah.
And goes smoothly.
Right.
So
So that could be longer then.
could be longer. I would recommend that you go 90 days.
So 90 days.
Err on the side of caution and go a little bit longer.
So that could be, so your 90 days, you mean the gap before you could get income generated again.
Correct, yes.
So how far ahead would one plan for that 90 days? And then how do you even calculate how much to plan for?
Yeah.
Is that coming back to our budget?
Coming back to your budget. So know what your expenses are going to be on a monthly basis.
Right.
And you should accumulate at least 3 months worth of expenses. But the circumstances again can be individualized. If you're going to go to your pension, it should be fairly smooth. But you need to have your paperwork in order.
You do,
right?
You do.
So that's one thing. If there's something missing, then you can have some delays.
Banking information, all that really important.
If you're releasing for medical reasons, that wait could be longer, and that's where we really need to really take a close look at your situation. If you're deciding to retire and you're going to go into another job and that job's sort of ready and waiting to go, then you might be okay with 30 or 45 days.
Yeah, these are all the factors that I guess we have to take in consideration of what's upcoming. And there's a lot for a member releasing to think about.
Yeah.
And to consider.
that's where the financial planning, on the financial planning side of things, they can sort of help you. But maybe coming up and seeing us 6 months before might be too late to try and help you get that savings. Okay.
So
yes,
perhaps a little bit further ahead than that.
Yes, ideally.
And
You should be. Anyone should be thinking about their retirement seriously. Like, how do I prepare? We usually say 10 years before. You should really start to think about what your savings looks like.
Okay.
But budgeting just to get you through to future income sources, pensions, government benefits such as CPP, QPP, old age security, if you're depending on your age, right?
Right.
And not to rely too heavily necessarily on your investments. Then you need to consider that probably within 9 to 12 months prior to when you would like to.
That seems reasonable. I think,
when you'd like to release.
Well, that's very, very interesting. I had a question just kind of is it a free service?
Yes, it is.
And I thought, well, we should mention that just in case we do have some new members.
For sure. And the thing to keep in mind is that we're not here to sell products and services, especially on, like myself, I'm doing the counseling. So when it comes to investments and it comes to insurance, there are things that SISIP offer more specifically to military members that that institutions or
other
insurance companies can offer. So that's really important to keep in mind. And we're here to do the best thing for our members and their spouses and their family. So that's what's important to keep in mind. It's not to sell you a product, it's to make sure that you have what you need for your situation or what your situation might be changing to, releasing and that sort of thing.
Excellent. I know I just had one last question because we are going to wrap up. Time flies. We have such an interesting topic. When we talked about releasing members and planning 9 and 12 months ahead, how would they come up with the number? Again, is that based on the budget?
Yes.
What number to put in the savings? How much extra do you add on?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's when you need to take. That's when you really need to take a close look at what am I going to need to get me through, and if it's beyond 45 days. What then? If I have to tap into some of my investments, how is that going to affect me on the taxing side of things? So kind of things, if you have some additional savings set aside, then that's great. And ideally everybody would have some. But if you need to, that's why it's important to don't wait to the last minute. That'll give us a chance to say, okay, we need to pinch here and we need to pinch there over the next few months just to make sure that it looks good for sure.
So I guess the number one thing for releasing members, I guess, is just to be proactive.
Absolutely.
Plan ahead. Make sure that all your documentation is in order with the orderly room and your banking information. And there's so many other things.
So it doesn't create any delays.
So it doesn't create delays.
Yeah.
So I think that would be the number one.
Yeah. You get a package. Your package is complete. So important thing is to make sure that it's now your job to make sure that all the documents provided to you within that package, you go see the...
In a timely manner, get those documents back.
Don't let anything lapse, because there are advantages of taking care of certain things, such as the insurance side for releasing members within 60 days. Very, very important to get those types of things taken care of and not let that 60-day period go by.
Absolutely. So I just want to thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is such a great topic. We could probably go on forever. I encourage everyone at home, and thank everyone at home as well, for joining us today for this wonderful topic. And I encourage you all, if you need some financial counseling or guidance or have any questions, please contact your local SISIP branch. Branch, if that's the correct word. And ask away, plan ahead, be proactive. This is your future, and it can be bright.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you again, Julia.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Join us.
Yes.
And thanks everyone at home, and we'll see you next month. Check our Facebook or check our website to see what's coming up next month at our Facebook Live. Have a good night.